Hello and welcome to ANC Decides, the show that gives you up-to-the-minute reports, commentary and analysis building up to the ANC's December elective conference. I'm your host, Mfundo Mabalani. Now let's take a look at what's making headlines. ANC leaders propose a unity formula to prevent a breakaway party forming after the bruising succession battle. Questions about uniting to win elections or having common purpose. ANC presidential hopeful Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma is on the campaign trail in Sasolburg at the Free State. Dlamini Zuma's door-to-door campaign is part of the ANC Women's League's outreach program. And Western Cape Provincial General Council endorses Cyril Ramaphosa as its preferred presidential candidate. The endorsement comes before all branches in the province seal nominations. The ANC is faced with a balancing act of managing succession such that there is no breakaway after the December elective conference. This is aimed at ensuring that the party retains power in the 2019 elections. The ANC has been warned of a repeat of what happened in Polokwane when a breakaway party was formed after a bruising succession battle. The fear is even greater with the opposition waiting to share the spoils of what is set to weaken the party. Several leaders have since called for unity to be fought between warring factions to ensure the party remains a formidable force. However, questions remain about uniting the party at all costs.
We're going to an ANC conference now. This conference now is marked by, problems of divisions, infighting, factionalism, and we're calling for unity because we believe that all of these things that we're talking about, and even the solution of our problem, radical economic transformation, fighting corruption, you can only do so if you've got a united organization that is strong on discipline, that is strong on ethical leadership, that is strong on people being able to lead on the basis of capacity and experience, that can actually generate and inspire hope amongst all our people. This is where we need to be working together, because that way we will actually be able to take South Africa into the future.
Now here's what is proposed in the unity formula. ANC elective conference will not vote for top 6 in one go. Election will be held for the president's position first. Losing candidate will be given a chance to contest for deputy president's position. Elective conference then votes for all the candidates contesting for deputy president's position. The one who gets the highest number of votes will be selected deputy president. New voting method has been cleared by the NEC and will be put before conference for adoption.
I don't think it is a bad proposal. The idea that we can have the candidates individually for the positions standing and getting elected is a good idea if we can manage through that process to break down slates and to help to forge unity. It's actually not a new proposal. This particular proposal was discussed in the National General Council, and in fact it was also raised at the National Policy Conference. Unity is extremely important, but for me the important thing that we need to understand is that there's nothing wrong with having a contestation of 7 different candidates. That's perfectly fine. The issue is that all of those candidates have to commit themselves to accept the outcome of the National Elective Conference. If they fail to do that, then they're not committed to unity.
The two front runners' sharp differences on approach to ANC policies raises the following questions. Is it possible for leaders with contrasting views on key matters to work and deliver together? Secondly, is real unity in the ANC possible through power-sharing formulas? We now cross over to our reporter Giovanni Maggiani, who's out in the Free State. Well, we'll get Giovanni a bit later on, but today in studio we're joined by political analyst Professor Sipho Siepe, and via Skype we're joined by Professor Andre Duvenaga. Professor, both professors, welcome to the both of you.
Thank you.
Professor, perhaps to start with you, I saw you nodding furiously there as we were watching that clip on unity and just the proposals there to say we're going to have the delegates voting individually for the top 6. What does it mean to you when they're saying they're going to vote individually for those positions?
Yeah, I think first of all, the ANC is faced with one challenge. It has to undermine and destroy and disrupted this pattern of slates. And we remember in the past what you had a whole list of people, and there's a voting that comes all at once. So what they're saying is that we're going to do it differently. But the formula that they've come up with provides a possibility where the person who loses might be considered for the next position of a deputy. And as Carl says, this is not a new suggestion, but it brings us closer to the possibility where the ANC says all the front runners do not lose out. They become part of the new leadership. So effectively, all groupings will feel that they have been accommodated. But what is important is that it should be staggered. You must have the presidency, and once that is done, you go to the next one. But that is the first thing. But what is also important is you can see there have been efforts that beyond simply talking about unity. The president, in hosting the dinner with the presidential hopefuls, he was actually reminding them of the danger of the winner takes it all. He could actually reflect on his own experience of leading the ANC for the last 10 years. Because some people who lost out in Polokwane had never stopped campaigning and fighting against the leadership that came, or the victorious leadership. And he actually has seen how that could destroy the organization. So that's the first thing. He could reflect on this. The second issue was also to remind all of them that they need each other post the elections. And this personalization of campaigns, instead of focusing on the real issues, was actually discouraged by the dinner, to say, if you're going to work together, then you can't spend most of your energy as if there is no tomorrow. And the third point that was important is to remind them that they are actually comrades, and that there is a bigger mission than what is before them in the next coming few weeks. So effectively, you're beginning to see the ANC moving from simply talking about unity to saying, how do we build the mechanisms that can make that actually possible? And I think it is a step in the right direction. And any form of, any discussion around unity among the comrades is very important.
Professor Duvenage, your take on this proposal, because some are arguing that particularly the two front runners, they differ fundamentally. So it would be difficult. If anything else, the ordinary citizens would be at a loss if one of them becomes the president and the other becomes the deputy, because we might see slow delivery.
That is dependent on your point of departure. If the unity of the organization is central, then I believe the current methodology is the better one. That is not the principle of the winner takes it all. It's a principle of representativity, trying to accommodate proportionality within your support base. And when it comes to unity, that is definitely the better principle. When it comes to conflicting principles in terms of leadership, yes, it is there, but it was always there within the structures of the ANC. Therefore, I think it is sometimes critical. It's coming together. In that sense, it is very important for the ANC to unite within the context of their diversity. If that is not the case, I have no doubt in mind that they are going to lose the 2019 election, or at least get a percentage lower than 50. And that is a worst case scenario for the ANC at this point.
Now we cross over to our reporter Giovanni Machani. Giovanni, a warm welcome to you. What has been the sentiment on the ground around this new proposal of, for example, having them vote separately for the top 6 positions?
Good afternoon to you, Mfundo, and good afternoon to the viewers. Definitely on the ground, it continues to be stressed that unity is the foundation of the ANC, knowing particularly here in the Metsi Maholo region of Fezile-Dabi in the Free State, they will be entering their by-elections where the SACP has decided to contest these particular elections alone. This is definitely people, raising up questions on the unity moving in, how this proposed mechanism of voting, this changed kind of rule, will allow the mixed slates, as we put it in the media, to come together and move forward. It is quite tricky because we do know that nationally the SACP has also called that 2019 they are thinking about going at it alone, contesting the 2019 elections, as well as COSATU coming out and stating that their preferred presidential candidate is Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, knowing that the ANC is going to their national elective conference in less than a month, actually 2 weeks' time, just preparing their PGCs, coming together as provinces. So all eyes are on this new voting system. Whether it will work is another question, but we do know that although the NEC has approved of this, it will be brought up on the first day of the National Elective Conference, which will be on the 16th of December, and then it will be up to the delegates to decide whether they will be adopting that kind of voting method, as they are responsible for the future of the ANC, knowing they are the voting delegates moving forward.
No, thank you very much, Giovanni Machanu, who's out in the Free State reporting for us. Professor, it seems all 7 candidates are talking unity at this point. In most of their public events, we're hearing them talk unity. But I still ask, can the ANC really tackle unity if they don't tackle honestly what divides them at this point?
Well, I think what divides them at this point is more ambition, and it's largely personal ambition. The politics of Nkosazana and the politics of Cyril Ramaphosa are not different. They are not. Both of them are not communist. Both of them come from tradition of being concerned about the poor. So you remove the issue of personal ambition, you start talking about how do we begin to focus on that which the ANC was founded upon, which is the liberation of black people in general and Africans in particular. And what would be important, and this is where the issue of diversity, even where there are differences, it's very important so that the best ideas win, so that the views that they may share and where they may not agree can actually be brought to the table, and where they could then craft the solutions that are workable. And if you listen to Ramaphosa in the last few days, in his initial submission, there was an absence of the land question. He actually has inserted the notion of the land question, that the land will be returned. And it was a criticism that had actually emerged, and he corrected that. He was not talking about the radical economic transformation. He has now come out openly to talk about it. So the differences are really not, they're largely more about where somebody is entry into the ANC comes from. Nkosazana comes from a different pedigree of being in the ANC. Ramaphosa comes from a different tradition.
Now,
so
Professor,
all they need to do...
Here's the spanner in the works. You're saying we can confine the ambition to just the front runners. But can we really do that? Or it even goes down to those supporting these front runners, that in the various provinces, they're also just as ambitious to be elevated to the next position. So how do you tackle this ambition across the board?
The bottom line is that you come up with a formula. And once the people, and what is also important is that the formula that is being proposed does not undermine democracy, does not undermine what Professor Duvenach was saying, proportional representation, that based on the support that you enjoy, then you'll be able to say the people will be supporting that idea. But most importantly, we must also understand that contestation leads to temporary disagreements. But when you are a Democrat, and you have outcomes, unlike what happened in Polokwane. And part of it could be the notion of a winner takes it all, but also it could also be because some people have dug themselves into a corner that they fail to accept the outcome of a democratic process. But what is most important with this proposal that is put is that once a contest is over, this is why the issue of unity is now, they're putting mechanism. Unlike in Polokwane and in Mangaung, they talked about it, but they did not try to find ways in which you can foster in the process the possibility of people unifying. I mean, the mere fact, I mean, if you saw what the president did, this was a masterstroke to say, guys, let's talk, let's be in the same space. And today, the chairpersons are now meeting again with the hopefuls, and all of them are talking unity. And
we have to go back to that Last Supper that many people are talking about, because some are praising it while others are calling it something else, but we'll come back to it. Now over to Limpopo. The Waterberg Regional Congress is expected to take place after many failed attempts to elect a new leadership due to divisions within the Executive Committee. Lemogang Foke filed this report for us.
The Waterberg region in Limpopo is scheduled to hold its regional congress over the weekend. The current leadership term lapsed over a year ago.
Amongst other things that the branches were raising were the issues of changing the delegates. Amongst other things that the branches wanted to see, they wanted to see the original form signed by the delegates.
The instability has led to hindrances in the form of signature campaigns leading up to the December conference.
Because of maybe time, because they are not sure of numbers, they decide to do signature campaign. In other words, they visit people individually and sign. Some they sign for them. And Tina, we call it a signature campaign because that package was not properly processed in the BGM.
With divisions within the Regional Executive Committee adding to the instability, one thing leaders can agree on is that the situation is now at an uncontrollable stage.
It's a matter about following the Constitution. The Regional Executive Committee of Waterberg, its term of office has ended last year, December. So you can just imagine now it's going to the fourth year. It is no longer a Regional Executive Committee, now it's a PEC.
Leaders are really compromised by the conferences. If you have people preferring this, the other ones preferring this, and people who sit in the dispute or appeals committee have interest as well.
The delay tactics in the sitting of the conference can also be attributed to individual interests that will have a greater impact on the provincial conference next year.
It is not about our regional conference only. It's about the future, the fate of other people whom want this current leadership to come and support them next February, including the national. Because even though I even myself have interest, all of us have interest, but people end up compromising the organization because of their own personal interests.
Given the number of failed attempts, clear divisions and individual interests, it remains to be seen whether the Waterberg conference will finally go ahead as scheduled for the 1st and the 2nd of December. Lemogang Foke for ANN7, Mokopane, Waterberg.
We now cross over to our reporter Lemogang Foke out in Limpopo. Lemogang, a warm welcome to you. Just take us through the real issues that have prevented Waterberg from sitting and choosing their leadership.
A very good afternoon to you, Mfundo, and thank you very much. You know, given the theme that we are tackling today, which is unity, I think it's very relevant where we are today in Waterberg region, where we know that the regional congress that, you know, was set to sit a couple of months ago. In fact, you know, we do know that the regional executive has lapsed its time in office by a year and a couple of months. We also do know that there's quite a number of divisions within the regional executive itself, where it seems that, you know, personal interests of individuals are sort of dominating those of the organization. You would also know that in the 2016 local government elections, the region took a hard knock in the outcome of the voter roll, having only a ruling now two municipalities in the region. And we got to sit with the leaders in the region today, and I think it is no secret, it is something that they all agree on, the fact fact that there are some kind of divisions within the region, and therefore that has caused some kind of hindrance in terms of moving forward, and also, sitting and ensuring that that regional conference is indeed concluded. Now, also another question that one would also ask Mfundo is, in this instance, what is the impact that currently has on the BGMs for the elective conference in December? We do know that about 69 of those branches had qualified to sit for those nomination processes following the outcome of the audits, and about 65 of those have managed to conclude. But again, the overall idea here is the unity in the region, and moving forward, can Waterberg be united going into the December elective conference? But I just want to rope in my guest for now. His name is Duncan Kekana, who is a member of the RWC and who's also thrown his hat in the ring for the position of regional secretary in Waterberg. Duncan, thank you so much for joining us. Firstly, let's just talk about unity and the proposed framework, where in that December elective conference we won't see the voting of the top 6 at once. What is your view on that?
No, I also concur with that. It's always that the unity of the ANC is sacrosanct. Either way, we must try by all means not to have another splinter group after the national conference. We fully support that particular move, that let us try by all means to unite. But it will all depend on the delegates itself, because 90% of the conference will be delegates, and delegates will have to provide a way forward.
Now, Duncan, I'm sure we can agree that there are divisions in the region currently. But do you think moving forward, unity is something that will be achieved in this region going into that conference?
I believe so. Because I think the conference in itself, it is the one which will have to force the new REC in terms of giving it its mandate and making sure that it gives the REC a mandate that it must be united. Yeah. So I believe that moving forward, there can be unity and cohesion in this particular region of ours, as long as we can be able to elect good leadership, which we will compose by, of course, young people who understand the ANC, in line with the NGC resolutions that the 20% needs to be represented cut across. Yes.
And with the regional conference set to start this Friday and Saturday also concluding, what is the general feeling on the ground coming from the branches? Is this something that they ultimately hoping to complete, especially getting ready for that December elective conference? What is the general mood like?
Look, the general mood is the same in all of the branches which have passed the verification process, that they want a conference because it is long overdue, and they want to change certain things. You will understand that even municipalities, especially in Polokwane, the council is unable to see it because the REC is divided in itself. So all of us, we want a conference. The conference must take place this particular weekend. It must be done with, because since last year, December, when we started with the BGMs, till now, it's already December. Branches, the feeling of the branches that they want a conference to sit. Yes.
Thank you very much for your time. That was Duncan Kekana, who is a member of the RWC in Waterberg, just giving us his version of what is currently happening in this region. And also, I think the general thing that we can take from this is the fact that, coming from the branches, there is a need to have that regional congress sit as scheduled over the weekend, especially given that it has been trying to sit for a number of occasions now. But for now, it's back to you, Mfundo.
Thank you very much. That's our reporter out in Polokwane, Lemogang Forke, giving us that reporter. Professor Duvenaga, it seems quite evident that all members, less than 3 weeks before that elective conference, they're saying unity is sacrosanct. Do you think perhaps there's been that realization that possibly those who stand to benefit with this division is opposition?
Well, yes, I definitely think so. As I mentioned earlier, this is all about survival, not only the survival of certain individuals, but the survival of the organization in toto. In that sense, it is critical to keep the people together, to create unity. And I believe it is possible the moment the organization is bigger than the personalities, then you can get that scenario. And I believe that realization is kicking in at the moment. And to a certain extent, it may be a bit controversial, but I think that the Ramaphosa lines are ahead at the moment, and maybe there's an element of compromise into the political process at the moment.
So just talk us through your first impressions of those images from what is now dubbed the Last Supper. Professor Duvenage, can you hear me?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What was your initial impression when we all started to see those images on social media on what has been dubbed the Last Supper, where we saw the president being joined for dinner by all 7 candidates?
Well, my take on it is that this was a very constructive exercise coming from President Zuma, indicating to us that the unity of the organization is very important, but also a warning to the losers that if they lose, they may get into some sort of trouble. The organization is bigger than the individual. There are also some concerns that people think that in some way a person or an individual or a group has already decided who is supposed to win, and that this is a bit of a message to other competitors that they must follow the line in terms of the winner. But generally speaking, I believe this was a positive exercise.
Professor, your take. I mean, the media space is littered with analysis pieces right now on just that Last Supper alone. Some saying it's commendable. He portrayed an image of unity as well as maturity, political maturity and tolerance, while others said perhaps it was to negotiate for Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma to be accommodated on the top 6. What has been your reaction to all that commentary?
Yeah, there are some people for whom the president cannot do anything right. They have a passionate and incurable dislike. So we don't even waste our time with those. But what is important is that the presidential hopefuls went to the dinner. And what the president was also able to do is to engage them, to remind them that they are comrades, which is very important. And also to say, contrary to the view that says, I prefer one of you, he was actually saying, you are the people who have come forward to say you want to serve this organization and this country. And I want to show my endorsement of all of you. But secondly, to simply say it's very important that you focus on the issues, so that if you focus on the issues, it makes it possible for you to work together. Let us not repeat what had happened in the last 10 years, where some people never recovered from a political defeat and made it their business to undermine the democratic outcome. And it says this organization still has a mission. And you could see the behavior of members. Some of them were quite happy. And there may have been some bit of some were embarrassed. Actually, I spoke to some people who were there. They thought it was a masterstroke.
No, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but thank you very much, Professor. Now, finally, to this week's poll question. The question we asked this week is, are state-owned enterprises captured by private interests? Do send us your responses to that, yes or no, to those platforms that appear on your screens right now. And that's where we end today's show. Until next time.